Hello. Happy brunch, everyone. Hi. How is everybody doing? Good to see you all. Well, happy times for you. Happy times for you. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Wow. I'm just looking at the news and it is just crazy. Of course, I try not to spend as much time on the news as I used to. I still look at the news. They're negotiating a peace deal in uh, the war with Iran, which a lot of people don't want it because if you still have the same government in Iran that is oppressing the people, if the mullahs are in power, then that's going to be bad because they are oppressing the needs of the people. The people don't want that government. They want the government gone, and they want a secular democracy. They want to be secular. They're not Muslims. It's not a predominantly Muslim country. It's a lot of Catholics, a lot of people converting to Catholicism in Iran. So yeah, I think Catholicism is one of the fastest growing religions. And then, or the original faith was Zoroastrian, so which is a very ancient religion. God, that goes back even before Judaism, which is one of the oldest religions in the world. But I think most people think that early sects of Hinduism and Zoroastrian were some of the oldest religions. But even more old than that, are the African religions out of Nigeria. We've talked a little bit about those. As an anthropologist, I love studying various different cultures and religions. We look at the Igbo, the tribe of the Igbo, and we also look at the tribe of the Yoruba out of Nigeria, which looks an awful lot like Shintoism and the shamanism. There's an overlap with shamanism, animism, some of the philosophies we see in Shinto and the religions out of Africa, which of course were supplanted during the conquest, during the occupations that happened when white colonists came in and forcibly began missionizing people. But Nigeria's main tribes that we look at for older religions were the Yoruba and the Igbo, very, very rich cultures. The Igbo worshipped a river deity, a female river deity that was called Mami Water. Mami Water. Anybody ever heard that term, Mami Water? Mami Water. Mami Water is a deity that is often associated with women who work in the marketplace. And that was their Mami Water or Mommy Water. And she blessed women often who could not have children. Mommy Water and Mummy Water. I'm wondering if I'm spelling this right. Was it Mommy? Does anybody know how that book was called? Mommy Water? Oh, there it is. Yeah, here's an interesting one. If you're curious about the Igbo faith and the worship of Mommy Water, the river goddess who blesses women who don't have children. What's interesting about Mommy Water is that Oops, that's the wrong one. Nope, you don't want to do that. That's my music. Hold on a second. I'll show you this one. This is Mommy Water. So we're seeing an overlay between Mommy Water and Oshun, the goddess Oshun, who was worshipped by the Yoruba. They're similar sister spirits. They're sisters in spirit, and they are the deities that overlook the sweet water. The sweet water. So women who often, get oppressed. You know, they're very closely related to. Wow, why am I not seeing this in books? It was required reading when I took a course in African literature at. Yeah, I took a course in. I thought it was written by a woman. Here's Mommy Water by Henry John Duell. Some people think it's associated with the mermaid, but the mermaid is more associated with Yamaya, the goddess of the sea in the Yoruba tradition. If you're interested, you could also get the book, The Water Goddess in Igbo Cosmology of the Aguda Lake. And I think is this the book I read? What book? In fiction. It was a fiction book. It was an interesting book because just the main character, she's like the second wife or I don't know, of this guy, and she can't have children. So instead she spends her time in the market and she becomes rich. So that's often the woman who's attracted to Mommy Water. Anyway, good to see you all. My name is Whimsy, and we're going to be getting together today, and we're going to be talking about the big squeeze that many Americans are talking about, and what you can do to protect yourself if you do feel like you are being squeezed out. So, Hag Shavuot, if you happen to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacle. No, it's not the feast. Is it the Feast of Tabernacles? Yes, it is. The Pentecost? No, is it the Pentecost? Is it the Christians call it the Pentecost, right? It's it's early this year. Oh, next year we're probably going to have a leap year in the Jewish Hebrew calendar. But thank you, Daniel Lee, for saying hi to Shavuot. It is when the 600,000 souls, which make up the Jewish people, stood on Mount Sinai and collectively received cosmic consciousness. So that is Shavuot. Shavuot. So, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, he was trying to get people to become more enlightened. Which was difficult because they had been slaves, right? So you had a slave population. The Feast of Weeks, yes. Yeah, the Feast of Weeks. So Shavuot, Sheva is 7 in Hebrew. Shavuot is the sevens, week in plural, or the plural meaning, the week of feast. And it commemorates the moment of Jewish history when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people on Mount Sinai. So when they talk about that, they're talking about a tribe being formed. A tribe was formed where everybody collectively had a had a cosmic consciousness occurred. You ever had an experience where you feel like God's presence or laying in the spirit or some kind of a mystical experience? So this was the largest single spiritual event ever recorded. It's where 600,000 people claimed that they experienced a metaphysical event, which was God consciousness, right? So that is what we're experiencing. So if you're trying to connect with that energy, now would be the time to be studying, to be meditating, because this idea is that the veil is very thin right now between the spiritual realm and the denser physical realm at the time of Shavuot. Mm-hmm. All right. And so I wanted to announce again our book of the month. Of course, if you have a book that you have written and you would like to consider us to consider it for our book of the month club, please think about sending it to me, care of Dr. Whimsy at 1819 Southwest 5th Avenue, Suite 116, Portland, Oregon 97201. And who knows, maybe your book will be selected as our book of the month club. This is a story about ancient witches in the 13th and 14th century France. It's extremely good. It's easy to read. It's been written by Carolina Montague, and it's going to evoke a really strong conversation with parallels between what was going on back then, targeting women, a war on women, basically, predominantly. And the book starts off with her getting basically roughed up by men, at a very early age. This idea that she was, you know, young boys start to realize that they are physically stronger than females. And then if they don't have the maturity and guidance from parents, they start smacking them around a little bit, right? So, this is kind of an interesting thing for us to be talking about. Unfortunately, she will not be able to be in our studios next week. She has a previous engagement, so we're hoping she'll be with us the following week. But today's topic is about, do you feel squeezed out? Do you feel like you are being squeezed out of your life? And if you feel like you're being squeezed out of your life, then that's going to evoke all kinds of feelings inside of you, right? So if you don't feel like you're safe, if you feel like you're being squeezed out of your life, then that is going to make you feel unsafe. So the first question we want to ask ourselves is, do you feel unsafe? Do you feel like you are safe where you're at? Do you feel like you can make your rent or your one paycheck away from homelessness? Because if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel safe, there are a number of reasons why you may not be feeling safe, or you may start to feel like you are. I'm just a little hot. I put on the air conditioner. Hope it's not too loud. So there's a number of reasons why you might not be feeling safe, and then there are legitimate reasons you might not be feeling safe, and then there are reasons which are just part of our imagination. Um, and the terrible and awful is not going to happen. But a lot of people are homeless in the United States. A lot of people are on the streets. A lot of people are seniors living in their cars. A lot of people are not safe. So the next question is, why do you not feel safe? You know, and do you feel squeezed out? So a feeling of being squeezed out is when you feel that others are threatening your personal space, right? So you have your space, you have your garden, you have your mantras, you have your safe space. So, do you have a safe space to go to? Or do you feel that, no, I'm being squeezed out, nowhere is safe, nobody is safe? I'm not safe in my own home. Do you feel safe in your own home? So, what are the things that could be threatening us in our own home? Well, if you can't make the rent or the mortgage, the morgue, right? I was looking at buying a 1 bedroom condo in Georgia, right? Tbilisi has a bad air quality, but Batul by the sea has very good air quality. You can get a really nice condo there for anywhere from 50 to 100K. And they do give loans to Americans. So you could just take off and go to a country that gives mortgages to Americans and buy in a part of the world that is safe and a lot less expensive. If you want a beach property for under 100K, you might want to look at a place like Georgia, the country of Georgia, which is quite popular. A lot of people like it. So Deb is really in a good place. Joel is with his family. He has a grandchild graduating from high school, and so he will not be with us today. So I think that, if you're not feeling safe, you have to kind of identify the threat of why you're feeling unsafe. If you're genuinely being threatened in your home, then that's a legitimate reason to not feel safe. If people are making you feel unsafe, certainly the political climate right now is making people feel unsafe. Groceries and the supply chain, groceries are up. People cannot pay for health care. So here's a couple reasons why you might be feeling squeezed. If you can't pay your groceries, you used to be able to pay your groceries. Now you can't pay your groceries. What the hell happened, right? That's a legitimate reason to not feel safe, right? And we've talked about things that you can do to decrease the cost of your groceries. We talked about the fact that the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States right now is healthcare. So when we're looking at why people go bankrupt in America, equals ill health. So if you get sick, then you're not going to be able to do your job. You're going to lose the house. You're going to lose the job. You're going to be bankrupted, and then you're going to be sick living in your car. So that's kind of how it plays itself out. This is why Chuck and I have been talking to people a lot about cleaning up their diets. about the best thing you can do to extend, just if you were going to do one thing to extend your life, just one thing to extend your life, we would say remove foods from your home that contain sugar and white flour. You could probably add a couple years to your life if you did that. Think about that. So if you're looking at a concern about your finances and you're thinking, I need to work for another 3 years, I need to be in a better financial situation, something really simple you can do that's going to improve your health is to simply remove white flour and white sugar. If we look at statistics here in the United States, the leading health challenges are diabetes and obesity related, right? So what happens is we start eating junk, we start eating garbage, and then we start to have a physical collapse. And then after we have a physical collapse, we start to have a financial collapse. And so how do you unwind that? How do you unwind that and live a truly spiritual life? You want to be at ease. So how do we get you to be at ease? And that is why we always start with your diet. How do you become a more spiritual person? How do you get your mind clear? We start with your diet. Right? So if you're talking about the fact that a lot of Americans cannot afford to buy food right now, then the first thing that we advise is to begin cleaning up the food you're eating. An example would be if you were to ask what is rising in cost right now. So what is rising in cost right now? What groceries have risen the most in cost in the last 3 years? Top 20. So we're going to look at the top 20 foods. Oh boy, got to log in here. Hold on a second. Very annoying. If you're looking at the top 20 foods that are costing us money here in the United States, most of them are probably not foods you should be eating. So we're going to look at the top 20 foods. And what is starting to happen metaphysically is that we're starting to see that those are foods that probably we shouldn't be putting in our body anyway. So we see over the last 20 years, roughly, no, that's not what I asked. In the last 2 years, it's probably been more than 2 years, right? It's been, we'll say about 3 years. We've been starting to see food prices rise probably in the last 3 years. And what we find when we look at those foods that have risen is they're foods that probably the universe wants us to stop consuming. I'm not giving up coffee. That's the one thing that I will not give up is the coffee. I'm sorry, people, but it's just not going to happen. I guess coffee has been on the rise. So a lot of people have chosen to give up coffee and move towards, green tea instead of coffee as their morning drink because they can no longer afford a cup of coffee. But beef and veal are up 50 to 74%. So this would be a great opportunity to get off beef and veal. Fresh vegetables and tomatoes, that's really kind of disturbing. But here is the prices. The great thing about tomatoes, if you have a little bit of property, you can probably grow your own tomatoes. And that's probably the safest way to be able to save on tomatoes. Fresh vegetables, 6 to 11%, we can probably live with that. I would recommend cutting out sugar, sweets, and candies. Um, but the number one is beef steaks, ground beef, etc. And if you're talking about just getting animal protein, diminishing it, you can see that luckily fish is not on the diet. I wanted top 20 most expensive food items. And if you're looking at the top 20 most expensive food items, so this goes back to this idea of how can we eliminate them? And beef comes up a lot. Yeah. Most inflation. What's starting to happen is that the world cannot produce these foods anymore, and a lot of cattle farmers have stopped being cattle farmers. And what we are saying to people, naturopathic doctors, people that are concerned about health, and people that are feeling squeezed out, is we're telling people to move away from those foods: beef roast, beef steaks, ground beef, beef and veal, candy and sweets. Some of these things you're going to still want to hold on to, like coffee, fresh tomatoes. I've got one tomato plant that I purchased. The truth of the matter is you can probably grow them from seed if you've got a hot mat. You can bring it in your home. It doesn't take a lot of space. I have literally 6 feet to grow vegetables on. But I will be able to be getting some tomatoes this year, so I'm really excited about that. And it's just an opportunity to change up the way that we're eating and move towards more affordable buying in bulk. I buy in bulk a lot, and I do that on Amazon. I'll buy like a large thing of walnuts, like 16-ounce walnuts. And then I put them in my freezer, and then I can use them. Like walnuts are really good for you. Chia seeds, and quinoa is an imported food. It comes mostly from South America, and brown rice is cheaper, but quinoa is higher in protein. Kamut is also high in protein. So, like I say to people, if you're feeling squeezed, first you want to identify why you feel squeezed. And you want to look at your 4 walls too. Whatever your 4 walls are, your rent or your mortgage is part of what you want to make sure. Are you able to pay that? Is somebody threatening you? Do you have threatening neighbors? Do you have a threatening grandchild? Do you have a threatening husband, partner? A lot of the time, the people closest to us, that leech onto us. As we become older, we become more vulnerable, and that tends to, I'm sorry to say, often attract predators, predators online, and predators in our own family. They start sniffing for their inheritance, right? So, unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why older people start to feel more vulnerable and they start to feel less safe because they honestly don't know who they can trust. So, making sure the people around you are trustworthy, making sure that you are not going to be out on the streets and that you feel safe. And then, of course, the other is the appliances. Can you keep the lights on? That's the other four walls. I run too much electricity. I'm always running electricity, and I need to start taking responsibility for that. That's something as an environmentalist and as somebody who's frugal, I need to be thinking about that, right? Getting my groceries down by eliminating those products that are bad for us. So when we think about products that are bad for us, we think about beef, pork, veal, those foods that were on that list because cattle were dying due to droughts. They're producing massive amounts of methane gas, right? If you're looking at cheap animal sources that don't take up as much space, even in the ghetto, people have chickens. Like in the shtetls of Eastern Europe. This is why Jewish chicken soup, right? Chicken, chicken, chicken is because they didn't have any land, and so they could grow these domesticated animals on a small stretch of land. They don't take up much land, and they don't produce as much waste, and so if you're looking for a better environmental choice for animal protein, it would be chicken and turkey, just because it's producing less methane gas and it's taking up less space. And of course, I always go with the organic pasture raised eggs. I don't have them very much because I ate probably way too much of them when I was younger, and it kind of gave me a headache, you know. To do that. So, um, yeah, I used to get headaches. Yeah, from just eating way too many pasture raised, eating too many eggs. Um, and then dairy is still staying relatively low. So we always want people, if you can afford to go organic, going with humane certified, then that's going to be better for the animals. But if you're going with dairy, goat is least environmentally harmful, takes up less space. But if you are going with dairy, low-fat cottage cheese is going to be one of the healthiest options. And low-fat or skimmed mozzarella. I haven't bought any mozzarella lately. Maybe I should treat myself to that. So those are my animal proteins. I got myself some ground turkey. I'll probably be cooking. Well, I was soaking some black beans. This is another thing you can do to get costs down is to start doing the 50-50 rule. Y'all know the 50-50 rule? So it means that half your protein comes from an animal source and the other half comes from a plant source. So an example of that would be if you are making a pasta dish with turkey meat, you could do 50% peas and 50% turkey, right? So that way you've cut your cost and you've kept your protein levels up, and you have helped your digestion We understand that a lot of people cannot do a high fiber diet. So we want to get your fiber to about 25 grams a day. And that's going to slow gastric emptying and also reduce your risk of diabetes. Fiber is one of the best ways to reduce risk of diabetes because it's going to slow down how quickly sugar hits your bloodstream. But if you're not able to, be too high, we just want you to do a 50-50. So that's a great trick is you're cooking up your spaghetti bolognese, and instead of doing a pound of turkey for the family, you're going to do half a pound of turkey. And then towards the end, you're going to throw in a cup and a half, or however much you want of frozen peas. You don't want to cook them so long that they become gray, unless, again, you're having digestive upset, in which case you can go ahead and cook them longer. And in terms of the lowest glycemic index for noodles, if you love your noodles, we recommend the no yolks. Or make your own noodles. It may be worth it to invest in being like your grandma and making your own noodles and your own dumplings with eggs in them, which will change the glycemic index. And if you can go with a whole wheat flour or a whole wheat pasta flour, something that's going to lower the glycemic index on the flour more than a white flour. But adding egg to the pasta is going to lower the glycemic index. And we've also talked about reducing sodium intake. But that is what I would recommend if you're feeling squeezed, is to make sure that you've got your rent covered, make sure you've got, you're feeling safe. Should you move? This is a big question we're getting right now with a lot of people is, should you move? If you don't feel safe, then sometimes it's better to leave. Let the psychopath have the space. Don't take on a psychopath, run. There are other ways to take on psychopaths, but if you fear for your safety, get away from the psychopath. That's kind of my feeling about it. Yeah, get away from psychopaths. Do not give them your forwarding address. Don't try and be their friend. They are not your friend. They are not your friend. You're not going to get back together again. They aren't going to recognize the error of their ways. If you got a $7,000 surprise water bill, then you need to do an account and a reckoning of the house and find out where the leak is coming from, because more than likely you have a burst pipe under your home and you've got water that's being poured in, and you can tell them, I have a burst pipe, and usually work something out. But you need to get somebody in as soon as possible to find out where the leak is, because you're leaking water. And that could also damage the foundation of your home. So you got to find out where that leak is coming from, and put a stop to the leak. It was funny. I was in my father-in-law's kitchen, and I was preparing dinner for everyone, and I heard shh, and it felt like water running, and I'm like, why am I hearing water running? And he got a water bill for like $7,000. The same thing happened, and then we had to talk down the water bill. It worked, and then we were able to get a plumber in to find out where the leak was. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do some readings for people. This is why, by the way, I stopped watching too much news, because by watching too much Midas Touch, talking about the rotting president and all of that stuff, it was causing panic attacks in me. And I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about number 47. The name, I don't want to even say this person's name. And I was just feeling powerless, helpless, hysterical. It was affecting my mental health, and it was affecting the way I was talking to people. Also, I saw a lot of corruption. You know, there was corruption happening everywhere. It was becoming like a cult. Politics became a cult. Um, Eric Swalwell got accused, and people refused to believe it because he was a registered Democrat. Just like when Clinton got accused of assaulting Anita Broderick, people refused to believe it because he was a Democrat. And that at that point, it becomes a cult. And also, it's not good for women and the rights of women. So I just had to, I just, I vote on the issues more than the candidate, personally. I'd like to see more affordable housing. And I want to see that the people I'm voting for have a plan to get housing costs down. I'd like to see somebody deal with the supply chain problem so that food prices can come down. I'm an environmentalist, and and I'm going to vote for the person that has the best plan for cleaning up the environment. Right? I'm pro-choice and I'm a feminist. So I'm going to be looking at somebody who is going to be, voting, supporting those policies. But I don't want to get attached to a personality because I understand that there's a lot of corruption, that we don't have a human resources in Congress that you can go to when somebody gets accused of assaulting somebody or something like that. And they keep giving themselves raises. And I think the corruption in the Supreme Court, the fact that half the people on the Supreme Court are paid to be there and half of them are rapists and God knows what else. It was just creating a lot of anxiety for me. And it took me away from keeping my own house in order. And I literally couldn't do it anymore because what people were asking me to do as a remote viewer is they were asking me to put this in my energetic body. And then I had people telling me that they were disappointed in me if I would not keep going and being intimately in this energy. And I became a really unpleasant person, and I became a hostile person. And I don't think I was helping anybody by rolling around in the mud with Vladimir Putin and the other guy. It was interesting as a remote viewer to use my skills in that way. It was interesting to get into the mind of Prince William, right? I got to be Prince William. I found out all kinds of private information. Their marriage was in trouble. He was living at an apartment that he was staying mostly at an apartment in London to get away from her. That's private information. I was like, should I really be knowing this about Prince William, that he's moved out and he's living at an apartment so he can hang out with his friends and go to the bar? Meanwhile, she's struggling with her health crisis, taking care of her kids, and daddy has taken off. And then I got myself in the headspace of Prince William, and he said, well, I feel trapped. There you have it. And because we feel trapped, we drink. All right, there you have it. She drinks and I drink. And so then I got really into the stress of what it was to be him, what it was to be dealing with my brother, who I think of as immature, who he had one job. He had one damn job. You had one damn job, Harry. Don't speak crap about this family. You had one damn job and you couldn't do it. You screwed it up. The one job you had, you screwed it up. Don't talk crap about this family. And if you do publish that book, as far as I'm concerned, you're no longer a member of this family. So that was cool. I got to be him, and I got to really, I'm living over in London. I got a flat there with my mates. I'm hanging out because I can't I need a break. Yes, I am drinking. You are seeing me in the pub with my friends. And you know why? Because I'm trapped, and that's why I drink. And you know something? She drinks as well. There you have it. We both drink. What else do you want to know? So I was like, oh my God. And then so I'm like seriously thinking about my skills as a remote viewer. Well, I think I'll just take my white ass out of here. Is this really? Because I started to realize that William was a guy under stress. His wife is sick. His brother's published a book. He's being called a racist. By the way, the racist accusations weren't against him or Kate. They were against staff members at Buckingham and working for the Windsors who were like fifth generation. My parents worked for the crown. My grandparents worked for the crown. And we're not going to let one of those people in here. And so all of that was institutionalized inside of the royal family. But Prince Charles wasn't racist. Prince Charles was probably had a love affair with Donna Summers that got put under the rug, which is too bad because I think they make a gorgeous couple. I've seen pictures of them together. Of course, most of the time he was staring at her breast, but oh yeah, he had it bad for her. His valet wrote a book about it, just like that. He was gone. Donna Summers was his great love. That he was one of the great loves of Charles that he wasn't going to be with. Could never be with the Queen of Soul. And there was a lot of, at the time, when the rumors were happening, it was the Queen of Soul with the Prince of whatever. But so the accusations were never against Charles, and they weren't against William, and they weren't against Kate. Kate grew up in Dubai learning Arabic. I mean, she was the most integrated of all of them. They've got pictures of her in the masjid learning with Islamic clerics Arabic. She was willing to try anything. Yeah, this is great. She was the most culturally diverse of anybody in the family. No, when you look at the book and you look at what happened, it was the people working for the Queen, the people that were working for Charles, and they were busy doing their job, and they had to go and they fired 50 people. Yeah, the royals fired 50 people. So that was what happened. And so I guess my point is that it wasn't good for my mental health to be sitting around at Pennsylvania Avenue with a bunch of drug-addicted psychopaths, which is the other thing that came up when I went into the remote before it broke, that Dr. Rodney was handing out prescriptions like candy during when 45 was in office. Everybody, Mike Pence's wife filed an alert because they were just, who wants Ambien? Who wants Viagra? Who wants oxycodone? That it was basically, they opened the door to a bunch of drug addicts. So, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just, it wasn't good for my soul. It was, it's hard enough to maintain your groceries and your rent and your mental health and your physical health and your responsibilities, your real responsibilities to your family, aging parents, grandkids. All of that is hard enough without spending hours and hours and hours of time engaged in escapism, uh, um, stressing out about the current political situation. So that's why I thought we should talk about, do you feel squeezed out right now? Do you feel squeezed out, and what can we do about it? In terms of how to fix the world, I think that you are the leader. Follow the leader, follow the leader, follow the leader. You're the leader. You're not the follower, you're the leader. So when we disengage and we begin to be the change we want to see in the world, and we begin to get our own house in order, and we begin to get involved in local politics, the city council, and you start running for city council and start living a moral, upright life, and then Rome collapses. Rome, the natural order is that the world survives. The natural things change, they evolve, but the earth survives. Just as we knew that the cattle industry was going to go belly up. We talked about that 10 years ago, right? That the earth could not sustain it. That people were going to have to get off of these beef burgers over at McDonald's, then the price of McDonald's, $13 for a Happy Meal, right? So it just wasn't sustainable. So people were saying, get on turkey burgers, which were healthier, right? And now we're finding that that's happening. So the earth is shifting. The arc of justice, it bends. The arc of history, it bends towards justice. Is that how you say it? But we're bending towards justice, and so we're going to go ahead. We'll do the empath prayer. We'll do some blitzes. We will blitz, blitz, blitz away, and we'll do some 1 and 2 card readings, and we'll try and help people to the best of our ability. If you need to see me for general health coaching, remote viewing, and counseling, I am here for you, and you can book me through Booksy. I'm here to empower you. I'm here to help you build a beautiful life for yourself. If we want to change the world, if we want to have leaders that are ethical, good, and decent people that care about this country and care about the environment, care about the suffering animals that are getting dumped, then we need to align ourselves with those people that are part of the change that we want to see in the world, and we need to get our own houses in order. So it starts with me. It starts with Whimsy. Whimsy has to get her shit together, right? And that's why I don't have sugar in my home anymore. I am giving myself 1 tablespoon of maple syrup a day, Vermont organic. It's actually less. Now it's down to 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon in my morning coffee, paired with 1 teaspoon of monk fruit. And then that tastes like sugar, but I have reduced my sugar intake. I used to do 2 tablespoons of sugar a day, and now that's down to 1 teaspoon of monk fruit and 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. I also am limiting the amount of pasta. I love pasta, and it's okay to have pasta, but you should really limit it and try and make your own. If you can get a pasta maker, it's really worth it. And start, add an egg, a good organic egg. It's cheap. Good old fat. Get a couple tomato plants. Start growing your own tomatoes. If you have a deck, you can even bring it into your own home if you like. But take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, clean up your world, get your act together. That is how we change the world out there. Because what starts to happen when you heal your life is others start paying attention and they follow the leader. Be the leader. Be that which you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to be in the world. And then you're going to start feeling less squeezed out. It's not just about adapting and saying, well, I'm going to get off the red meat. I had some red meat last night. I went and took myself for pho. It had vermicelli noodles and it had red meat in it. But what's the difference? The difference is that it's not going to be something I have every day. It's going to be something that's a treat. And it's also thinly sliced, right? It's the thinly sliced. So instead of it being 12 ounces, it's going to be 3 ounces, right? And it's not wheat, it's rice based. So, ways to just tweak things a little bit. It doesn't take a lot. I checked my sodium levels. I was still under 1,000 milligrams of sodium yesterday, which is crazy. All right, let's go ahead and do the empath prayer. If excuse me, if you would like to receive healing at this time, go ahead and give us your name or the name of the person you would like us to pray for, and we will include them in our prayers today. If you have a question that you need a guidance, if you need assistance, we will pray for you, and we will do our best to try and get through everyone's questions today as we try to get back to center, get our lives back. Healing starts with us. Saving this country starts with us. Let us go back to, the days of George Bailey, right? We're good people. George Bailey, right? It's a Wonderful Life. Let's get back to the good life. Let's get back to the garden. All right, without further ado, let's come together and let us bring in the empath's prayer. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say Amen. For those people today who are requesting healings from the community, we come together at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again, collectively as a community, we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. All right. Let's blitz away when we get that order. Let's do it. All right, we're going to pull back a little bit here. All right, this first question is coming from Ann Coleman. Thank you for your question and for your patience, Ann. Ann writes, if you're taking personal questions today, I'd love to know if we should fix up our house to sell or to stay here. The house has been a money pit. Well, that's definitely something that, if it's a money pit, maybe you should move to Georgia, to Beasley, the country of Georgia. Will we ever be able to build? Thank you. Well, you have to look at your situation objectively. How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? What's going on with your health? Where are you going to be in another 5 to 10 years? Maybe it's more house than you need. You have the power to take control over the situation that you're currently in. And your first card is the Magician. You are a magician. And they say, I'm getting into your Akashic record right now. I'm in your record. They say, your guides are talking to me, Anne. Here's what the guides are saying. Man, do you know how to pull a rabbit out of a hat, Anne? And you know what we're talking about. So they're talking about the fact that you always can pull a rabbit out of your hat. You can always find some way of, oh, I need this. Well, I'll just go from this and I'll move it over here. So your entire life has been about you pulling rabbits out of hats and figuring it out. And well, I couldn't cover this, so I sold this and then I moved it over here. So you're very good at figuring things out. And you learned a lot throughout your life, Anne, about how to figure things out by pulling rabbits out of your hat. And so you are the magician and you're always pulling rabbits out of your hat. And so they want you to know that you will figure this out. And go into a deep state of prayer and ask yourself what it is you truly want right now. Your house of opposition is strife. Look, if it's causing strife to the point where you are unhappy, then maybe you have to take a look at it. Also, take a look at your investments. How much money are you putting in? How much money is coming out? I feel like part of you just wants to go away. Come away with me in the night. You know, it's like a 3 of Wands energy is over you as well. I want to get away from here. I'm feeling strife. And, it goes back to what we had talked about earlier today, which is a feeling that people are squeezed. The parasites are coming. They're coming from here. And oh, she's getting older. Maybe we can cash in. Maybe we can be nice to her and she'll put us in our will, put in the will, like that starts to happen. We start to feel more and more vulnerable. We start to feel like we want to get away. I don't want any of that for you. I do feel when I go into this energy that you've always been able to pull a rabbit out of your hat. You've always been able to figure things out. A lot of your solutions have to do with how you invested your money up till now and retirement and coming up with smart ways to reinvest. It's up to you if you want to sell. You're fine staying. If you want to stay and do an account and a reckoning and reinvest in the house, that's fine. Or if you leave, there's no judgment. The main message from Spirit is that you figured it out and you will always figure it out. And whatever decision, it will be the right one for you because that is your nature. You will work it out because you always work it out. Focus on your investments and on your retirement plan and your finances at this time to help you navigate changes. And remember, the grass is not always greener. Do your homework. There are benefits to you staying and reinvesting and doing a true account and reckoning of the house. There are benefits to actually staying and just fiddling with your finances a little bit. But there's also benefits to you maybe going and trying something different. Either way, you will work it out. The universe doesn't judge you. It just gives you a series of options. Jess MSKI. Hi, Dr. Whimsy. If personal readings are possible, can you tell me what you see about my husband and his upcoming job interview? Well, congratulations to your husband who's going to his job interview. Always, you want to ask for assistance if you are looking for work from the universe, depending upon what your tradition is. You can ask the universe for assistance in opening the way for a job. I don't know what the saint is in the Catholic tradition, but there are energetic things you can do to create work. In the African tradition, it would be the god Ogun, who is the Iron Man, the Iron Maker. I see a good star over your family right now, and there are blessings over your home and over your family at this time. The sword of truth of Archangel Michael also stands with you. Your hope and fear at this time, a desire for love in the world, a desire for love and abundance, but they feel that you are headed towards a time of good luck and good blessings with that star energy moving in and Archangel Michael working with you. I also feel like you have recommitted yourself to your health program, and I think that's a great idea. Both of you be fit and fiddle, take care of yourself. The main thing here is to be the best employee he can be, really be an ethical person, really be a good worker, and see himself as the ideal candidate. The meditation here is see him as the ideal candidate, manifest that idea in this matrix. So when we go into meditation and we receive something as true, we see the situation happening, we see our husband in good health, we see him getting his act together physically and spiritually, and we see him getting a job that is perfect for him because he is a benefit to the company. And if you do those things, then it will go very well with you with that Ace of Cups moving in. Focus, of course, on your health seems to be something you're also dedicated to at this time, which I think is great. That is exactly what you should do. Sue Malik writes, need help with my boyfriend, Martin. He claims he loves me, but I'm not sure. Well, if you're not sure, you're not sure. And why does he love you? How long has he known you? Does he love you because you do things for him? Can Martin take care of himself? That is the harsh reality we have to ask ourselves. I know it's life is harsh. If someone tells you they love you, you have to really know what's going on in their finances. Can Martin pay his bills? Who's paying the rent for Martin? If Martin is independent and capable of taking care of himself, it's less likely that he has an agenda. But more important than that is if you're not sure, you have to honor that. It could be that he's a nice guy that's able to provide for, take care of himself and provide for others. He just genuinely loves and cares about you. That could be a real thing, or it could be that he sees you as a safe haven and he's not able to take care of himself physically or financially, and he's just looking for somebody who, yeah, I love you, meaning I'm desperate and I need you to come fix it. Fool takes a leap of faith. So this could be that you are, he feels that there's some kind of a karmic relationship between you two. That is true. I would slow down and make sure that you are independent of each other for some time before I make a commitment to this person. Regarding the Fool and the hesitation, trust your gut. If you're hesitating, you need to honor that, even if you have a strong connection with him, and you need to step back, things happening very quickly, and look at your financial situation with him, and just make sure that what he's saying is going to work in the real world. Just be objective and be able to take your time with it, Angelina writes, shall I work towards a large garden? 2020. Well, it depends, if you grow everything all at once, it might be that you have a bunch of vegetables, a bunch of lettuce that's free, that's there to harvest, and you can't eat all that salad at once. So I would break it down into different seasons. Like if you have, say, one area that's divided up to be your lettuces, just be aware that you don't want it all coming up at once. I learned that the hard way. It's like, does anybody want this stuff? um, and then you don't have anything. I don't have anything because it all came up at once. I don't know. I just planted it all at once. Right? So you learn. So say you have an area where you're going to be doing greens, just make sure, you pace your planting. Let's see. Angela's 2020 garden is, oh my God, grief and heartache. So there's a little, it's good for you emotionally. It's kind of a therapy for you because they're talking about the fact that you felt like you didn't have control. They say that I'm in your Akashic field. Thank you for giving me permission, Angelina. I'm in your Akashic records. A lot of stuff was going on in your life according to your guides, and you were sad about certain things that were going on, and you found by focusing on the garden and focusing on these things, you felt better. It was able to get you through the difficult times. And so the greater benefit was that it became something to focus on that took you away from the pain and grief of the past, that you had a lot of pain and grief from the past, and you were able to move away towards this new focus, which was, a butterfly. There's a beautiful flower. The bees are pollinating. I think I'll try. And it pulled you from the sadness and it gave meaning to your life. And now you're like, oh my God, have I created another prison for myself? So, just remember that there was a reason why you got into this. I think fruit trees are a great idea. Because depending on, I love peaches. I love Bing cherries. I love Bing cherries. So you may want to do something that's less maintenance because you have an inverted judgment, like, what have I taken on? Don't overwhelm yourself, but think about maybe things that are easy. I think fruits and nuts are one of the things that we really need. Remember, when we're talking about optimal health for people, we're talking about greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. Have that be your mantra. Greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. Do you have a walnut tree? Can you grow a walnut tree in your home? Because walnuts are one of the best things for your health in terms of omega-3s, right? So just have a walnut tree. There you go. You never have to buy walnuts again. I love hazelnuts. But boy, you get a lot of worms, right? Same with Bing cherries. So I love Bing cherries. I love peaches. I love walnuts. Those black walnuts, right? Plums, right? So think about your trees. Your trees are going to bring shade, and they're going to grow, and they're going to be there for decades to come. So you may want to invest in something that's about 2-3 years old rather than going from seed. And then you're going to have, I think walnut is a really good tree to have. I really do. And then the other thing that you want to think about is rotation of the crops. Mushrooms take very little space. And so having mushrooms, French women used to have a plot where they would keep moving the soil to stimulate the growth of the mushrooms. You can get grow bags, and including mushrooms in your diet is really important. So I really encourage people. Nut and fruit trees are really important. They can be canned and stored, so you can have them throughout the year. And like I said, nuts are so important. We see less heart disease in people that have nuts on a daily basis. Walnuts and hazelnuts, that's my jam, right? But they're saying don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Hmm. Yeah. Trees, man, grow more trees. Those fruit bearing trees, nothing better. Nothing better. Well, my apples, the great thing about apples is that there's so many things you can do with apples. You can do apple butter. You can sweeten it with maple syrup if you're trying to move away from sugar, or you can sweeten it with monk fruit. You can do apple butter. You can do apple sauce. There's just baked apples. There's just so many things you can do with apples. You can do apple pie. You know. Um, but yeah, I think people are just not growing enough trees, and I think trees are really, really vital. Jennifer says, not feeling safe for a few reasons. However, positive thoughts in my spiritual journey is helping me. I have deceased dad and brother who recently passed, helping me from this other side. Yeah, this is the idea that we have ancestors or that we have allies on the other side is an ancient idea. And most religions have this idea of receiving guidance and health from the other side. And I think that's absolutely great. Can you tell me what you see about my husband and his upcoming job? Past. Oh, yeah, we did that. Yeah, we felt like it was good things were coming. The best predictions. We were mistreated by the museum. I found out it's documented they mistreated their ancestor and forced him to donate a ceremonial prayer in 1999. Yeah, bad stuff can come. What goes around comes around. And yeah, that's why you want to start doing the 50-50 rule. So, for example, if you're doing black beans and rice, if you're doing the whole Cuban thing, then you can do some grilled chicken on the side. So uh, that's like Cuban food, right? Black beans and rice. And then you can do white rice is okay if you're having trouble with too much fiber. Yeah, I do allow for white rice. Some of the white rices have a lower glycemic index. I think the basmati, but go ahead and let yourself have it with the black beans if you're struggling, and then you can do a little bit of grilled chicken on the side, and then you're going to have a complete protein, but you're going to be reducing your cost because you are 50% of your protein is coming from plants. Remember, some of the best healthcare is in Cuba and they believe in natural medicine, but you will be reducing your plant protein, animal protein, if you just pair it with some black beans. Yeah. Dates and figs are high in sugar. In fact, they're considered the highest sugar, the dried fruits. So be aware of that. They should be enjoy them, but if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, they should be eaten sparingly or not at all. Yeah, I like white flour occasionally. I like to have my pasta, but if you are going to do it, just remember to have it with the egg, and that's going to lower the glycemic index. So you can still have your pasta, you can still have your ground turkey and pea, bolognese, but have it on some egg noodles. And if you can get yourself a pasta maker and start making your own pasta, that's going to be the best thing. The rule with pasta and making your pasta is that the biggest mistake people make is that they don't knead the dough long enough. Make sure you're kneading the dough for a good 10 minutes. so that you can break up the starches and get the gluten to be, and then let it rest, possibly in a refrigerator. Well, they used to not have refrigerators, but just let it rest for a little bit. And so the starch breaks down, and then that's the way you're going to really get the best noodles. Siobhan Dumas writes, greetings to Whimsy and all. Can't begin to talk about food prices. Tremendous rainstorms have affected my outdoor clay pots. Have to think about a kind of shelter for that. Yeah, it's one of the things that you want to be aware of is just always check your weather because things do change. Love the idea of blueberries. We have a lot of blueberries here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's one of those things that's renewable. You can build yourself a blueberry and a blueberry wall, and then you have it every year. Couple of air garden type hyperdonic kits. Yeah, those are fun. Those are fun. I ate a whole block of tofu and I got sick. Oh, you can kick sugar. You just move towards maple syrup and make the decision you're done, and start pairing it with some monk fruit, and that'll reduce your sugar intake. You can do it. It's actually pretty easy. Okay. Maria Miller writes, I have a 3-pound bag of almonds, walnuts, pecans, and 1 pine nuts in my refrigerator. I buy them at Costco. Great. You can start making your own almond milk. And that's what I'm going to start doing again. It can help you save on prices if you're doing your own almond milk. And it's healthier than the commercial almond milk. Kits make it pretty easy, but there's a cost in purchasing the kits. Also, the plants can only grow so large. So, yeah, that's the problem with those things. Yeah. Siobhan Dumas writes, imagine an umbrella of safety and security for all. It's one of Archangel Michael's techniques. It appears as a blanket that covers one's environment. I like that. But also be realistic and look for realistic solutions to any challenges you might have. Yeah, so we want to put a person like this on a diet that's going to be easier to digest. And for that reason, we recommend slow cookers. And the reason we recommend a slow cooker is because a slow cooker acts as a second stomach. A slow cooker or crock pot or slow cooking things on your stove will act as a second pot, a second stomach for you, slowly breaking up and digesting those foods for you. The other thing we recommend is for people to move towards bone broth. So you're slow cooking things in bone broth, and that should be easier. Also, think about making your own sourdough if you are using white flour, because commercial sourdough is not going to be as healthy as making your own sourdough. Yeah, and if you do those things, good probiotics in your diet. We like kefir, can be very helpful for helping with digestion, and some of those yogurts can be helpful as well. May I please, Leah Omega 8 says, may I please ask how to stop abuse and discrimination at my job? Well, you can't. That from a Buddhist perspective, if you're talking about it from a 21st century Buddhist perspective, it's not your fault. If people are bigots and if they're abusive, it's got nothing to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It didn't have anything to do with you when you were 4. We're moving away from, it was your karma. That's kind of not the way 21st century Buddhists think. not, if, for example, you were unfortunate and you had a parent that was an abuser, they were an abuser whether you were going to be there or not. If you are working with people who are abusive, they were going to be abusive whether you showed up on the scene or not. It's just that you happen to be around, right? So, from a 21st century perspective, instead, what we're saying to people as 21st century Buddhist is it's not your fault that they're a jerk. It's not your fault that they're a psychopath. It's not your, but your responsibility as an enlightened person is, well, how am I going to deal with the fact that this person is a psychopath? How am I going to handle that? And that's what you have to decide. How are you, as a competent adult, going to handle this? And what we recommend is that you document, document, document. You also want to go to human resources and say, you don't want to exaggerate. You want to stick to the facts. Sounds like you're probably not exaggerating. And you may have to go into a lawsuit. The fact that you want it to stop, but I would start with documentation. And documentation is your friend. Documentation will protect you. I was just talking to somebody who recently said that documentation is, protected her in her situation. So document, protect yourself. Document that you did something about it, that you honestly didn't know how to handle it. And you may want to talk to human resources. Of course, the job of human resources is to make sure that they don't get sued, and it may trigger them to want to build a case against you. So you don't want to show up late to work. You don't want to show up to work drunk or inebriated. These can sometimes happen. A person gets abused at their job and then they start smoking weed, or oh, look, we fired her because she had so they will drive you to self-abuse, and then that will be used against you afterwards. That is how the game is played, right? So I feel when I go into your energy as a remote viewer that you are a people pleaser, Leah, that you have tried to be a people pleaser throughout your life. So somebody abuses you and then you're like, can I bake you a cake? Hoping that by being a people pleaser, they're going to stop molesting you. They're going to stop. I've done that. I used to take people out to dinner that were abusive to me. And you know what? Then I got abused over dinner. And then I had to pay the check, right? I had to pay the bill, right? So I learned from that experience that I'm not going to do that anymore, right? So you have the Six of Cups. Hey, you want some flowers? Hey, can I babysit your cat? So don't be a people pleaser. It's not healthy, and it won't give you respect in the workplace. They are winning against you. They are winning a case against you. So not only is it not helping you, but they're gaining power. Your enemy is gaining power. You're also being warned against substance abuse. Don't overdo the salt. Don't overdo the alcohol. Don't overdo the marijuana. If you're on therapeutic doses of marijuana, you may want to think about laying off that for a while. But regarding issues, getting your wish, be patient over this situation and look at getting away from them. They're advising you to withdraw and to minimize your contact with this other person because they got off on the relationship. And they got off on the fact that you were a kiss ass. I could smack her around and she comes back for more. A little sadomasochism, right? So they will be heartbroken when you leave because, in a sense, they needed you more than you needed them. Hopes and fears. I seek a happy life. And your final outcome is self-employment. You were delaying the responsibility you had, according to your Akashic records, to be about your business. You don't have to quit your job. You just have to go take care of yourself and to cut cords with these people because they kind of need you. And I would also look at documenting and taking legal action. Either way, take care of yourself, be about your business, child. You're not there to make friends. You're there to do your job effectively, and they must be erased from your life. And trust me, when you erase them, they will be heartbroken because they need you more than you need them. All right. Joanne Corbett writes, can you ask about my competition at the end of June? Oh, congratulations. You're having a competition. That sounds lovely. You will be assisted by spirit in your pursuit. So you're going to be and be willing to do things that are necessary in order to win this competition that others are not willing to do. Judgment falls in your favor if you take the advice of spirit. Take the help being offered. Be willing to make necessary changes. Do not be attached to ideas that are not serving you. Work hard and be willing to do things the others are not willing to do, and it will go well for you. That is your reading. Anna Wright, will my daughter be able to get pregnant? Well, that's exciting. New life, new life. I love it. Let's bring in some new life, some new love in the world. Always a good thing. Always a good thing. I love it, love it, love it. Anna Wright. Will your daughter get pregnant? And her answer is right now there are things going on in her life where it would not be a good idea. I'm feeling like there's issues in her life, stress, and feeling a little bit put upon. So that's not what she should be focusing on. Yeah, it'll happen when she starts to get control of her life and get control of her finances and not all this stress and crazy that's going on. I feel like she's feeling like in her life, and she's worried about her relationship a little bit, her relationships. And when she starts being about her business and taking care of herself, then yes, everything will fall into place. Appa student, I just realized that liking someone's negative video brings negativity back to me. I had not thought about it. Yeah, it's something to think about. News, same. I don't allow the name mentioned in my home. Yeah, me either. I'm getting sick from it. And I had to save myself, to be honest with you. Dr. Whimsy, you are not the only one disgusted with, oh, did you have to mention the name? It's not just him. We can't just blame him. There are a lot of psychopaths that are bankrupting us because all they cared about was money, me. And we want to get back to the garden. We want to be financially stable too, but it's not all about, money. It's about living the good life and being able to sleep at night, knowing that you've done good work in the world that's helping people. That's more important than anything else. You got to live with yourself at the end of the day. And consuming more than you need, as the song goes. What's that song called? Consume more than you need. This is the dream. Make you a pauper. Make me a queen. You know that? Whenever I feel lonely, I got it all prearranged. I want a grave that's deep and wide enough for me and all my mountains of things. Hi, Whimsy. I left my job. I've had 2.5 years wondering how long it will take to settle into the next phase of life and recover my health. I'm glad for your shift. Yeah, if you need to come in and see me for some health coaching and get you on a program, that would be awesome. You can return decades on your life. It is possible. We just need to remove the things that got us sick in the first place. Of course, genetics plays a factor. Environment plays a factor. Take it slow. Rome wasn't built in a day. Message from Spirit. I have your guide. I have your guide on the psychic phone as we speak. Your guide is saying, "Listen, Mary, I got a lot to work here. It took you a long time to get into this situation, and it's going to take a long time for us to dig ourselves out of this." So, your guides are trying to help you, but there's also this feeling of slow and steady wins the race. And I feel like I'm digging through a lot of challenges over the years of what happened. There was a lot of instability for many years of your life, a lot of back and forth they're talking about that could have led to your current situation. Also, you waited by the phone a lot. They're talking about you waited for people to change. You waited, Mary's daughter, for things, learning to let things go. And that part of that means letting go of certain dreams, not the dreams that you build for yourself, but the dreams you had of other people, other relationships, doing or being what you needed them to be in the world. Lighten your load, take care of yourself, and there's a possibility of a new rebirth in love and relationships when you do it. Get off the sodium. I get the impression you loved your sodium, but now it's time to just really clean up and go alkaline in your diet. I'm really feeling the need to tell you that right now. Oh, Opti student. Should I divorce my husband of 20? Oh, I can't make that decision. He yells constantly. Oh, dear. Well, it could be that he's starting to undergo mental health problems. If he's 81 years old and he's yelling constantly, it could be an early sign of dementia. You could just start pulling foods from his diet that what we say are yang. Too much yang, too much yin and too much yang. Start giving him some Hei Shao Wu. That can be a tea. That can be very helpful. But consider the possibility that part of what's going on with him is that he has lost his mind. What's going on in his physical body? It could be as near as what is going on in his physical body is the problem. It can be dementia, that kind of change in behavior that we see, particularly the frontotemporal dementias that can impact behavior, that it becomes erratic. Because I would want to do some imaging and send him to a neurologist before I went walking out the door. They're talking about investigate the cause. So if we get imaging back that shows white matter in the frontotemporal areas, that's going to be affecting his mood and his behavior. And so rather than taking it personally, it's understanding that he's experiencing brain damage and it's impacting him. In terms of what we can do to help people that are experiencing frontotemporal dementia, of course, we talk about the diets which are good for diabetes prevention, which is what we've talked about here, which is going on a predominantly plant-based diet. There's been some interesting studies on mushrooms. Lion's mane mushroom has been researched for its help of the brain. Omega-3, or having fish on a weekly basis and taking fish daily. This is why I recommend a green smoothie every day. And I do put a teaspoon of omega-3 by Nordic Natural along with walnuts. I do pump myself with a lot of omega-3s. Blood sugar dysregulation shows a strong correlation between dementia, white matter, elevated blood sugar, and damage, or what we call diabetes of the brain, and dementia. So I would get some imaging. Also, there are certain medications on the market that can be helpful in terms of slowing down progression and helping with cognition. But he needs proper diagnosis. And I believe with diagnosis and change in diet and lifestyle, you could see improvement. And it may not be necessary to walk out the door. But you need to get some imaging and find out what's going on with him. All right, Jennifer Petunia, my brother's partner who he left years ago, okay, just called and left my mom a VM, says he's going to keep calling. What do I do if he shows up at my door? the house my brother left, he would not be happy. Well, you could call the police and document, and then block him. He, sounds like his brother's partner is having some kind of a mental health break, and why is he doing this? It has nothing to do with you. Whatever was going on with the brother, it doesn't have anything to do with you. I mean, if did you use this man in any way? Did you have any relationship? Block him and call the frickin' police. I think you should just block him. It doesn't involve you, whatever was going on, and it's not your obligation. If your brother promised the house to him, and if it's in writing, then that's something else. If there's a will that needs to be contested, but definitely you have conflict, Jennifer Petunia, going on, and there he is presenting as the Knight of Swords. He's going to go down here. He has been wronged. In his mind, he has been wronged. Yeah, everything's going to be okay. And it doesn't involve you. Okay. Justice is the avoidance of truth. No, injustice, I think, is what you meant. Injustice, not justice. Injustice is the avoidance of truth. We need it so we can be benevolent and for protect the innocents. However, right now, justice is just another tool used by opposition. I think that you didn't mean to say that, but we get the point. Zoro Dominus, and until we have access to the information, I don't know how many humanoid species we have on the planet. All right, we'll do a couple more readings for people, and then we'll go ahead and close out. Okay. You all are going to be facing RICO charges for paying Kid Rock to pay me out of the Illuminati Freemason. Oh, sounds crazy. I don't know what that's about. But that was kind of fun at the same time. It sounds like a psychotic break. That's not happening. That's not real. Okay, greetings to call Orisha Ogun for any help moving forward. Ogun, owner of Iron Access Technology. Yeah, because he brings work. And we had a long period of him ruling the earth. And the 300, what was that movie, The 300? About iron and fighting and war. But it was necessary because it pushed us forward in terms of, building things, the time of building and construction and cities. He ruled for something like 2,000 years, Siobhan, is that right? So, yeah, we went into, God, I used to know this so well because I took courses on this stuff in college. But he enters during the time of the Iron Age. The energy of Ogun, and he ruled for a couple thousand years, and that pushed society. But it was also a time of great war. And then we started to see with the Renaissance that it was the time of Oshun, and she will rule for 2,000 years. And she is very strong on the earth right now, the goddess of love, female power. And she rides, she came in this year with the fire horse, and that's why we're seeing a lot of issues with justice for women starting to emerge, the fall of Iran, now the fall of Afghanistan because their economy is bankrupted. Anywhere women are oppressed, the bankruptcy of the meat industry, anything that's harming the environment, that's all part of the 2,000-year reign of Oshun, where we get back to love, back to the garden. Sarah Eschwiller, Whimsy, do my guides and angels have any particular message for me? Any guidance from them about where best to focus energy and attention? Many thanks for considering my queries. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and see if your guides want to work with you regarding anything you need to work with right now. What does Sarah need to know from her guides? I feel when the first thing I feel is that they say you have amassed a lot of knowledge, Sarah. You have learned quite a bit. You know, you present as the Queen of Swords, so you are quite wise. And your you know, I feel like you're going to rule a kingdom, and you have the capacity to make quite a bit of money in this lifetime. You know, this is somebody who's like the seasoned queen. She's highly educated. She's the master, and she's able to build quite a profession for herself. I feel like you are also in a state of like peace with others, a desire not to have conflict with others. I think your meditation practice is strong. This is more talking about you going into your power as the queen and ruling your kingdom, and not being in conflict with others because it's going to take away from the work you need to do in the world, being judicious with others, not fighting with people, not arguing with people, and moving forward and building a really great life for yourself. And seek peace, and don't pursue a conflict with others if you can avoid it. Hi, Smiley. Starting my business venture. Should I continue looking for work full-time teaching? Yeah, it's a lot to try and do both. And I had that struggle when I started my business because I was working in a pharmacy, which was bringing in no money. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Focus on your private practice. You know, the Tinker Tailor Spy, right? So this is the Eight of Pentacles who makes their own money. You will do very well in your own business. Make sure people know where you are. Listen to Dale Carnegie, the three stools of Dale Carnegie. Number one, have the best product out there. They trust you. Be an ethical person. Be a person with a good reputation. Polish your diamond. Your business is a diamond. Polish it daily. Make sure it's the best it can be. That's the first rule of Dale Carnegie. Be the best you can be. Be the best remote viewer, naturopathic doctor I can be. Polish my work every single day, every single day. Polish, polish, polish. Number two is find your customer. Make sure that people know you're here. I am here, and my business is a polished diamond. I am ethical. I get back to my customers. I treat my customers with respect. I give them extra time and attention. I go the extra mile. You can trust me. I'm not going to put you on hold with AI. I'm going to have a relationship with those customers. So number one, polish your diamond. Number two, find your customer. Who do you feel like you can help? Who are you trying to connect with? That's the second rule of Dale Carnegie. What is the third rule? Keep those trains moving. Keep those trains moving. Get the product out. Get the product out timely and quickly. I hear you. I have a polished product. You are my customer. You can trust me to do the job effectively, and I will get that product out to you ASAP. Polish your stool. Polish your three-legged stool. That is what you're being asked to do. Mastery, ethics, good customer relations. You will override the competition because if they're corrupt, you get what you pay for. Be the leader. You're being called to run your own business. And it will start to make profits for you by April of 2027. So you'll start seeing a good return by April of 2027. So if you have to do small businesses, then that's okay. If you have to take a small job, but you should definitely pursue your private practice, whatever it is. Okay, Maria Milo 120. Thank you for that donation. It's very much appreciated. Will I have a positive outcome if I go for natural osteoporosis treatment versus reclassed injections? Osteoporosis was secondary to breast cancer treatment. That can happen because we have to give people aromatase inhibitors, and that can inhibit estrogen, which is a growth factor for bone. Thank God the cancer is gone. Okay, natural treatment for osteoporosis. Ace of Cups. A new beginning. Hopes and fears. Your immune system took a hit as well. The King of Wands. It's not one or the other. You could be finding a way of doing both. You could be looking at integration, ways to integrate. You do have the King of Wands there, which is the Blood King, focusing on the blood. He is the Fire King, and it's focusing on the blood. Look at all the risk factors with reclassed, but I would look at it could be probably integration is where I would be going, which is to try and do a little bit of everything. Keep your diet up. Why haven't you mentioned honey for sweetening foods? Honey is digested in the mouth. It raises the glucose pretty quickly. It tastes better than maple syrup by some people's standards, but it doesn't have the same nutritional profile. There are some minerals. The darkness found in the maple is the minerals, and its glycemic index is a little bit lower than honey. But if you like honey, I have honey in my tea. Yesterday I had 1 teaspoon of honey. I measured it out in my honey in my tea. So I had, what was it? I had 1.5 teaspoons of maple syrup and one, but I really try to keep it below 25 milligrams. And you got to be careful about the quality of the honey. Not all honey is the same. Hope you do a video on how you found a path to your ND after getting your MD. I do not know the scope of practice for naturopathic MD. I believe it would be interesting. I'm not a medical doctor. I went to naturopathic medical school, and it's a medical school that gives you the ND license. But we do have to do the same prerequisite courses, the same pre-med, and the first 2 years of sciences, cadaver dissection, all of that stuff. It's actually pretty intense. It's just that, and we do prescribe pharmaceuticals when necessary, but we try to focus on daily healthy habits rather than just writing prescriptions. Oh, a PhD, the best predictions. A PhD is trying to steal my projects at the museum. We protested with proof, so it's up to the director now, but I would suggest repatriation of objects. Yeah, and you could take out a lawsuit at the museum if it happens. Let's take a look. And this is going to be our last reading for the day. Thank you for the donation of $4.99, by the way. It's deeply appreciated. And if you need to see me for a private reading, you can book me through Booksy. All the information is below this video, and I will do what I can to help. Also, I see patients for medical consults as a medical intuitive and ND. You're very strong. Queen of Swords comes to you at this time. So you're not somebody to mess with. Was this a young male? Always try and take the easy road. Sun's coming out. Yeah. They don't want to go to court with you because you'll win. So I feel like justice will come to you, and you're going to be okay. All right, everybody. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to everybody's questions. Again, if you're trying to reach me, you can book me through a Booksy, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, ND. All that information can be found below this video. Okay, we are out of here. Well, you can just Google Dr. Whimsy Anderson, and then the Booksy information comes up. All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with me. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you, too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.